Is paying for this actually smart? What are you going to do to get an ROI? To film a season for Banking on Cultura in the way that I want to do it, meaning it's high quality, it's audio, can range anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000. So it's not cheap. It is not cheap because there's real money in podcasting, y'all. There's money in podcasting. I like to give the behind the scenes and tell the story of how we got here, so that if you are thinking about a podcast, if you are thinking about partnering with brands, you have the full landscape. But never did I think that we would land at Art Basel, because without you, there really is no me. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode on Banking on Cultura. I am your host, Victoria Jen Rodriguez, and I'm coming to you live with a solo episode because I just got back from Miami, baby. I was at Art Basel. This was my first year ever going to Art Basel. And for those of you who are not familiar with what it is, basically it is a exhibition of artists, of brands, of creatives who just come to really celebrate the vibrancy of their art and really make sure that the world knows about their artistry and it's celebrated. And so I had the opportunity to attend, and I wanted to share a little bit of the behind the scenes of what went down. And for those of you who were following on the social media streets, you got to see some of the action. But I wanted to break down how I actually found myself at Art Basel, because there are a lot of learnings there for you, especially those of you who are interested in working with brands, who want to be an influencer, who want to have a podcast, who want to secure brand corporate sponsorships, just who want to learn more about just what really goes on behind the scenes to get people to be paid by these brands. So I want to give you some insight into that. And then I also just want to talk to you about my overall experience. So first, I want to say thank you so much to all of you for tuning into Banking on Cultura. We hit a year old in September this year. And I am just so honored to have you on this journey with me, because without you, literally none of this would be possible. I would not be in Art Basel if it wasn't for you. I would not have the opportunity to just interview some amazing, incredible guests and educate my community to help you increase your income streams and really own your Latinidad, your cultura, where you come from. And I just have this incredible man, I'm just so thankful. I mean, I just really am just so thankful for you, because I'm living my dream because of you. You know, brands are paying attention to us because of you, because of the community, because you're supporting, because you're listening, because you're downloading, because you're leaving us reviews, you're leaving us comments, you're following us on the social media, you're sharing this with your friends. Like, this is all possible because of you. So I want to start with extending my gratitude and appreciation to you. So thank you for being a part of this journey with me. Thank you for helping me bring my dreams to life. Thank you for being you, and thank you for just really helping me see that anything is possible when your community got you. And I really feel like you guys got me just as much as I got you, and I love you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So with that being said, a little backstory of how I got to Art Basel. So I mentioned we're a year old. And my main vision and focus for this podcast has always been providing education to the community, but also making sure that this was designed in a way where it made business sense. Because your girl has been bootstrapping this podcast. So this gorgeous studio that I'm in right now, this audio quality that you hear, the video HD quality that you see costs money. Right? And so your girl has been bootstrapping this since the beginning, right? Not to mention all the thought leadership that goes into this, my team that spends time on this, the marketing that goes into this. There's just so many layers that are a part of making this a successful podcast. And your girl has been bootstrapping it. And so my vision for this has always been, okay, we're going to create this as an asset in your business model. And you're going to make it pop in such a way where you're going to get brand deals for your podcast. So going into Banking on Cultura, I always thought about like, okay, is paying for this actually smart? What are you going to do to get an ROI? And I knew by investing in our audio quality, our video quality, making sure we were consistent, dropping every single week, being very strategic about the guests that we had, getting pressed about the podcast, paying for a publicist to help get the word out about the podcast. My goal was always to make sure that we were positioned, as a serious podcast that brands could partner with and feel really good about, B, provide education to the community, and C, really use it as a way to amplify my voice and my influence in this ecosystem of podcasting and just building a personal brand, right? That gets recognized and gets paid, right? So that was always the vision, and I always had that in my mind whenever I conducted an interview, whenever I had the opportunity to share more about Banking on Cultura. And so I've been talking to brands about the work that we do here literally since the beginning, since we started, because I was like, okay, I'm paying money. I need to start seeing, a profit on this. I need to get my money back. And just to give you context, y'all, to film a season for Banking on Cultura in the way that I want to do it, meaning it's high quality, it's audio, it's the marketing, it's everything, it's the team, it's the editor, it's everything, can range anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000. So it's not cheap. It is not cheap. And so knowing that, I've always spoken to brands from the beginning because my goal is to make sure that brands see Banking on Cultura as an opportunity to connect with my community, but also as an opportunity for them themselves to get educated on how to do business with us, right? How we want to be catered to as a community, how we want to be spoken to, how we want to be invested in, right? Because they don't know. They got no damn clue, y'all. So we are providing kind of like a think tank for them, like a hub where they can go to understand more about the vibrancy and complexity of our gorgeous community, right? Our beautiful, complex community. And so that's how I presented to them, right? I presented to them as, hey, we're a hub. We're a hub of intel for you. We're a hub. We can serve as a focus group. We have this amazing community. They take action, right? They are about their business. They are ambitious. They care about entrepreneurship. They care about philanthropy. They care about investing in themselves, right? So whenever I had the opportunity to talk to a brand, I would always tell them about this. And since we were brand new, they wanted to kind of feel us out a little bit, and they were checking us out, and they were really, considering us seriously, which was a good sign. If I needed to do it all over again, y'all, what I would probably do differently is I actually would try to get this paid for before I even went live with it. Because now there are podcasts that are launching now that are getting budgets and they haven't even done one episode yet. They're just going out and letting people know the concept and maybe doing like a pilot episode and have something that they can show as kind of like a highlight reel, and then having people invest in the idea. It's kind of like the same way when somebody approaches like Amazon or Netflix to put a show on their network and they haven't done the show yet, but they need the budget in order to create the show. They give them kind of like the concept. They give them a little taste of what it is, and then the network decides to invest in it or not. That is definitely something I would have done differently, because I could have gone without bootstrapping this bad boy. However, with that being said, the fact that I had to bootstrap this, I've grown so much more of a deeper affinity for the work that we do here. I take it 10 times more seriously, because when you're spending your own coin, you pay attention, honey, okay? And also, it really allowed me to become one with the process of it all, because I literally have been involved with every single detail related to this podcast since the idea was born, right? So with that being said, I'm having conversations with brands and, people are interested, but nobody is really like biting, it's like kind of like digging into what it is that we're doing. Or so I thought. So I decided to continue to educate myself to get an understanding of how podcasts are making money. So one of the ways that podcasts make money, and guys, I'm going to tie this all into Art Basel. So just continue to follow along. But I like to give the behind the scenes and tell the story of how we got here, so that if you are thinking about a podcast, if you are thinking about partnering with brands, you have the full landscape of how it happened for us, so that you can pull best practices and apply it to the projects that you are trying to bring to life. So I learned that podcasts, they make money via ads. So you have these different brands that are playing commercials on podcast episodes. So you guys might now start to hear some brands that we're working with, because now we have brands who are running ads on our platform. By the way, y'all, listen to the ads, because some of the products that they're offering are really, really cool. You get like crazy ass discounts. And that's a result of you being a avid supporter and listener of Banking on Cultura. So why not take advantage of those opportunities? So definitely don't just skip over the commercials when they come on. Anywho, so I was like, okay, well, if I know that podcasts are making money off of ads, I need to figure out how to get ads placed on the podcast. So then I learned that there are actual podcast networks that podcasts join. And those networks, their sole responsibility is to connect the podcasters with the brands. They kind of serve as the liaison and get ad placements on the podcasts that are a part of their network. So I ended up joining my guy Gary's network, Pod Digital Media, who was looking to build out their Latino arm for their network. And I said, you know what? I want to help you do this. Like, let's partner. Let's get Banking on Cultura on the network. When you go and talk to brands, tell them that you have this dope ass podcast that is speaking to the Latino community. And if they want to get in front of us, they need to consider us as a vehicle to do that. And so we started working together. I started getting ads on the podcast. And then I learned that another way podcasters are making money is via activations. And basically what an activation is, like if you've ever been to like a conference or you've ever been to like an event that was hosted by a brand and there's like a whole experience that is included into it, like maybe they're like a liquor brand, they're giving you a tasting of their latest whiskey, or maybe it's a car brand and they're about to introduce a new car and so they host like a mini car show. Right? Those are called activations. So in Art Basel, there are literally thousands of activations happening all at the same time. So every major brand is at Art Basel doing an activation. So there were a couple of brands who were looking to do an activation specifically with a Latina podcaster. And so when they started asking around, my name came up and they checked us out. They did their research. And listen, these brands will do their research, okay? They will be all up in your business. They will look at your social media. They want to know if there's actual alignment there with, kind of like their parameters for who they want to do business with, right? And who they want to partner with. So you go through kind of this assessment process, went through the assessment process, and then a few brands came back and said, hey, we want to bring her in. And that is how I found myself at Art Basel, my first one. And we got paid to be there, baby. And Banking on Cultura got me there. And it was such a super dope experience because the way that it was set up, it was like we were recording an episode live while this activation is going on. And go to my social media at I am Victoria Jen or at Banking on Cultura so you can see kind of the pictures and the videos and the vibe of the event. It was gorgeous. It was at the Soho Pool House, you know, where we have this gorgeous pool in front of us. Pod Media, shout out to their team. They did an amazing job of creating the stage and the setup and just the production, the lighting, everything, honey. You guys are actually going to hear the episode that we recorded at Art Basel. It should be on the pod soon. But it was just like such a vibe. I got to work with the legend Kenny Burns, who is a legend in the entertainment kind of like hosting space. So he was there. I got to partner with the ladies from the Mama's Den podcast. So there was just so much going on all at once that it was almost like serendipitous that I had this vision since the beginning of Banking on Cultura to get us in front of bigger audiences and have us work with brands, but never did I think that we would land at Art Basel. Like that wasn't even a part of the vision at the beginning to think about like Art Basel being where we're going to show up. And we found ourselves there. So it was really cool. But while we were like doing this live podcast recording during this activation, it was really interesting because people were talking, right, while I'm recording with this other podcast. So that was really interesting. You kind of had to like block out the noise and just pay attention to like what you were recording. And everything else about it was just a vibe. And what was really cool about it is
we interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
ooh, this is really good. You should know about this. So I don't know about you, but I've been known to procrastinate, especially when things scare the hell out of me. The fear alone would have me stuck, overwhelmed, confused, and all types of self-doubt. And don't even get me started on the imposter syndrome. Okay. After getting laid off, not once, but 3 times, honey, I realized that the security blanket that I made up in my head was just an excuse because I didn't really want to bet on myself. The corporate benefits that had me in that headlock, girl, they went out the window once my job decided that they no longer needed me.
Turns out that I'll save a whole nickel if I cut your salary.
Lights are going up, excitement all around. It can only mean one thing. McRib is here. People throwing parties, ugly sweaters everywhere. Holiday swag lined up for the best time of the year. It can only mean one thing. McRib is here. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. At participating McDonald's for limited time only.
The holidays are here, mi gente, and so is the IKEA winter sale. Now's your chance to make the holidays a little more magical and less expensive. Save up to 50% off on select items in-store and online now through January 7th. And if you're an IKEA loyalty member, you'll get an extra 10% off on all sale items. Need help managing the clutter of decorations? IKEA Storage Solutions will keep your home tidy from toys and tinsel. Having extra guests over? Check out offers on select dining furniture to make room for the people who matter most this time of year. Don't wait to finish your winter wish list. Shop the IKEA winter sale in-store or online now through January 7th. Visit IKEA-USA.com/winter sale for more details. Terms apply. Offer valid dates may vary. U.S. only while supplies last. Selections may vary by store and online. See store or visit IKEA-USA.com/winter sale for complete terms. Restrictions apply. The truth is, the only security blanket guarantee is the one that you create for yourself. In other words, until you start a business, you will always be at the mercy of a company's headcount, and you will never have complete control over your time, which means you'll be renting out your thought leadership and helping build someone else's dream instead of your own. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Don't you think it's time you stop playing small and tap all the way into your power, sis? Check out www.victoriajen.com/training to learn my 3-step process, the exact 3 steps that I took to make the transition from corporate to entrepreneurship. And this is helpful even if you don't know what type of business to start and have only one source of income. And this is absolutely free. It is my gift to you. I want you to win. It's winning season. In fact, what's that? It smells like winning season. Okay, so tap in and I'll see you inside the training. Let's go. At these activations, you have very influential people that go to Art Basel. Like, people go to Art Basel to network. They go to Art Basel for business. Of course, you have people who go to Art Basel for the parties and the fun and all the things, but there is a lot of influential people there. So they kind of got to see me in action. Outside of just the brands that were sponsoring the event, there were other people as well that got to see Banking on Cultura, got to learn of Banking on Cultura, because, honey, we were the only Latino podcast on the scene at that activation. So much so that it was so much fun. Kenny Burns and I, we practiced how to say cultura. If you go to my social media, you'll see me practicing with him on how to say cultura. So it was really dope, not just to represent the community, but insert ourselves in a space where it was predominantly Black creatives, and we were able to collaborate and infuse what we infuse, baby. You know, our Latinidad, our magic. So it's really dope to introduce the podcast to a completely new community of people. But there is something that I want to add on to other brands being in the building and being able to see us front and center. So I'm considered talent at this point. Whenever you're like flown out and you're doing one of these activations, like, you're considered talent, which was also really interesting to me because, like, I'm used to getting paid to do keynotes. I'm used to getting paid to lead workshops. You know, I also do my own events, right? We just finished the Secure the Big Bag and Wellness Summit. So it was so interesting to kind of like be on the other side, not a part of any of the organizing, any of the planning or anything like that. And literally all I had to do was show up and do my thing, the dream. Right? And get paid to literally do my thing. So it was cool to be there as talent. But since I was there as talent, you know, people were looking at me as such. So while I'm like working in this element of making sure this is successful for the brands who believed in us and wanted to partner with us and do this activation together, there were other brands there in the building who were paying attention to me as talent. So anywho, I was told that I needed to arrive by a certain time. And your girl likes to be on time. That is something that I learned from my dad at a very early age. Be on time, okay? If you're 5 minutes early, you are late. I always try to be at least 10 to 15 minutes early wherever I go. So I was on time, girl. And that means a lot because let me tell you something. The traffic during Art Basel is insane. Like, to go a mile, it could take you anywhere from 30 to an hour. That's how crazy the traffic is. So me getting there on time, meaning I got there 10 to 15 minutes before I was required to be there, says a lot. And I was the first podcaster to be there. Okay? So I'm there early. Now, who else is there early? The agencies that represent the brands. So the way that this works is usually brands, they hire an agency that connects them to the talent. They're kind of like the liaison. So there was a very prominent agency that was there early as well because they're checking to make sure that their client's investment is going well and everything is up to par. So as a result of me arriving early, I got to sit down with this agency. They got to learn more about me. We got to kiki. We broke bread together. We had lunch together. We laughed together. And it just all happened organically as a result of me just being early. And as a result of that connection and having the opportunity to literally exclusively connect with the brand without the noise, because the event hasn't started yet, right? The event hasn't started yet. So there was opportunity for them to like really listen to me and for me to listen to them. And we got to know each other. As a result of that, we exchanged information, and there just so happened to be an event with another big brand in New York City the day that I was flying back. And as a result of connecting with that agency, by the end of the event, so they saw me in action, all of their bosses saw me in action. So by the end of that event, they invited me to come to this other event in New York City, which was invite only. So key takeaway here, y'all, be on time, okay? Be a little early if you can be, because the powers that be in the building, all right? And if you have an opportunity to connect with someone on a human level as a result of you being early, do it, all right? So that was pretty cool that came out of that experience. Another really dope part of being at Art Basel was the gorgeous Airbnb that I stayed at. Like, I literally, guys, woke up every day to the beach because the condo was right on the beach. It had a gorgeous balcony. It was just beautiful. Private access to the beach. It was beautiful weather. Even the bedroom had a view of the beach. So I got to kind of just like wake up in this zen-y, peaceful, gorgeous vibe. The apartment was gorgeous. Like everything about the entire experience was dope as hell. It was like right up the block from the Fontainebleau. And if you don't know, the Fontainebleau be having a super poppin' lobby. So you can go there, Kiki. It's also the hotel that houses Live on Sundays, which is also another big thing that goes down in Miami. So it was just a really dope experience to not only, you know, be there and get paid to be there, but stay at this gorgeous hotel kind of condo vibe. And then also experience all the other events that were going on at Art Basel, which, by the way, is a whole nother process, y'all. You gotta like RSVP in advance for all these events. Most of them are pretty free. Many of them are exclusive, so you gotta kind of like RSVP early. But it's like people hopping from event to event to event. So activation to activation to activation. And while you are popping around, you're also getting to see the most gorgeous art by incredible creatives. And they're showcasing their art on like rooftops, at pools, at galleries, at museums, on the beach. You guys might have seen like the viral elephant exhibit that kind of made its rounds in Miami. I don't know, y'all. Not to throw shade, I didn't get to see the elephants, so I'm speaking from a place of not being able to experience myself, but I couldn't believe how this thing went viral. Like, people were going nuts because they had these, you know, elephants on the sand. I believe they were handmade, which is pretty cool, so I'm gonna give it that. I believe they were handmade out of wood, and they're kind of like traveling elephants. But it was just so interesting, the things that we make go viral. I didn't get to see the exhibit, but it caused a lot of shenanigans because everybody was trying to see these elephants on the beach. But that's the beautiful thing about art, right? Everybody interprets it differently. So for me, I may not have thought it was such a big deal, but for others, they might have been like, wow, this is like a vibe, right? So that's the cool part about it. It's like an infusion of activations, of brands doing things, of music, and then you have the artistry component, and you also have the business component, and you also have the party component. Like, it was just a vibe. Okay? So, with that being said, do I recommend you attending Art Basel? I think that you should be thinking about Art Basel. It goes down every year in December. So think about this for December 2025. I think you should consider going to Art Basel if you are creative and looking to connect with brands, because all of the executives are there. Decision makers are there. So it's a great networking opportunity, okay? If you are somebody who wants to be an influencer or wants to be considered as talent, you should be at Art Basel. Again, because you have proximity and access to executives who make decisions and who write the checks, okay? So highly recommend for that. And I would also recommend that if you are thinking about starting a podcast, I want you to really consider a niche. What are you going to focus on? What problem are you solving? How are you going to be different? So in the podcasting space, there aren't many Latino-led podcasters that focus on the culture, entrepreneurship, and bochinche. There really isn't any, to be quite honest with you. So I had that angle play to our advantage because there really isn't no other podcast like ours in the marketplace. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast, think about like, what is your niche going to be and what are you going to focus on to make you different? Another reason why we landed at Art Basel and we are now seeing the fruits of our labor is because we stayed consistent. I told you guys that this took us a year. It took us a year to accomplish this. It might take you 2 years. It might take you 3 years. It really, I believe, depends on how hard you work and how smart you are in terms of who you're connecting yourself with that will drive how successful you are in the podcasting space. But being consistent is key. You want to make sure that people have a place to return to, that people have something to look forward to. So with us, you know, we don't break up. We have seasons, but we really don't stop. You know how shows have seasons and there's a couple of months before or even a year span before the show comes back? I decided that we were going to be what I call evergreen, which means that we're dropping an episode every single week of the year. So at a minimum, we're doing 52 episodes a year. And then we're adding in some bonus content as well, right? So consistent. That is approach that I had because I thought about like, okay, I want to not only create the business case for what we do, but I want to create the community. And to me, it would be difficult creating a community as fast as I wanted to create a community if we were just dropping like every quarter, as an example. So I decided to keep things consistent. The next thing I want to share with you guys is you need to believe in your shit. You need to believe in your shit, meaning you have to be the most excited about your project, about your baby, about your podcast. And it needs to be organic because people feel that. They vibe off of that. They want to support that, right? People want to support passion. They want to support that type of energy. And so you need to make sure that you believe in your product, right? And the best way to do that is for you to take your time to really think about what your product is going to be, right? And you might get different advice. Like I'll see things on like Threads and, you know, people who are supporting you in the podcast community and they're like, just start. I agree. Just starting helps you move, right? However, if you have a bigger vision and you're thinking about this in a very strategic, smart way, meaning you're not just doing this for fun. You're doing this because it makes business sense. You're doing this because you have bigger ideas around what the podcast can do for you. And that's how actually I want you to think about it. I don't want you to think about it as a hobby because there's real money in podcasting, y'all. There's money in podcasting. So you should really be thinking about how can I leverage this podcast to make me some money? Because outside of you getting brand deals, outside of you going to brand activations, outside of you getting ads placed on your podcast, you can also use your podcast as a funnel for clients, right? You can use your podcast as a funnel for clients because on your podcast, you're building your credibility. You're building authority in this space, right? You now have this content that you can showcase you in authoritative position, right? Which automatically comes with a level of respect, automatically comes with a level of curiosity, which is what you want, right? So I want you to be smart because podcasting takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. So if you're going to invest in a podcast that is going to pull you away from other things in your business, even your family life, time with your boo, whatever it is, you want to make sure that it's worth the investment. You want to make sure that it's worth your time. Now, if you're in a position where everything is gravy, you're good, you hit your financial goals, you're fulfilled and all that, and you want to start a podcast just as a hobby and do it for fun, more power to you. More power to you. But you guys always know I'm all about working smarter instead of harder. And what that looks like for me is there's a strategy around every single thing that you do. And as you grow as an entrepreneur, you will become so selfish with your time because you truly begin to understand that time really is money. So whatever you decide to dedicate your time to, whatever you decide to sow, whatever you decide to water, whatever you decide to put your intellectual property toward, your energy, your creativity, your connections, your network, your access, your money, will grow. But what that means is you're taking it away from something else. So you need to make sure that it makes sense. And my dream is to literally get paid to be myself, talk my shit, and educate my community. And I was thinking about, how can I do this? How do I make this happen? And a podcast, in my opinion, was the best way to make it happen. And I actually have flirted with this in the past. For my day ones, you guys remember I had Victoria Gen TV on YouTube, where like 3 years ago, I was interviewing people kind of on like a show kind of vibe. So I was always kind of doing this. I was brewing, I was thinking, I was even foreshadowing. I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? Like, I want to do this. So this, I started the podcast a year ago, but your girl interviewing, your girl putting out content, your girl doing video releases has been a thing for like the past 7 years. For the past 7 years, because the goal was always, okay, how can I monetize V? My personality, my creativity, my vibrancy, my Latinidad, my beauty, my personality, my intelligence. How can I monetize all of that, remain true to who I am, educate my community so I take them on the journey with me, give them the game and the strategy so that they can set themselves up for success, even if that means that I'm creating more competition for myself, right? Because every new podcast that pops up is a competitor, right? Because now they're adding to the marketplace, right? So even with all of that, I still want to make sure that my community has the tools and resources that they need to not only own their Latinidad and own the spaces that they walk into and be confident and feel badass, eliminate their imposter syndrome, their self-doubt, give them the game on all of that. I wanted to also talk my shit, which means I wanted to do it my way. I wanted to do it my way on my terms, in my tone, using my vernacular, my swag, right? And usually, if that is your goal, you have to create it yourself, right? Because listen, when you're ahead of your time, baby, people don't get it. They really do not get it. And so sometimes it requires you showing them the vision, showing them so that they can understand, so that they can see it, right? And so knowing that that was my dream, I had to figure out like, okay, if I know that that's the dream, I still need to make money because I got to support the dream. I still need to make sure that my business is growing as I'm pouring into this part of the dream, right? So I say all that to say, be strategic, y'all. Be strategic and intentional with everything that you do in your life. You want to know why? Because your life is precious, honey. You don't have time to waste, darling. You do not have time to waste, and you can't be on anyone else's timeline. Sometimes you need to accelerate your growth by creating your own opportunities, creating something from nothing, not waiting until you see somebody else do it. Do it. If you're yearning for something in the marketplace, do it. If you see there's a gap, if you wish there was a solution to a problem that you have, create the solution, right? Create the life that you want to live instead of just going in the motion of it all, right? Instead of just oiling the machine, instead of, kind of doing the same thing that everybody else is doing and just following, quote unquote, the rules that have been written for you, but have not been written to serve you. You hear what I'm saying? The rules that have been written for you, but not the rules that have been written to serve you, which means they are rules to tame you. They are rules to keep you in line. They are rules to have you walk a straight line. They are rules to not create waves. They are rules for people to be able to control how you show up in the world so that all the other opportunity, all the other money, all the reserves can go to the other people. So if you really want to be deep about it, that's why it's so, you can look at it that way. But it is so paramount for you to really tap in to your badassery and tap into your creativity and tap into you and really do the work of tapping into you so that you can identify for yourself, like, what truly makes you happy? What do you really care about? And what is the life that you want to live? And as I was in Miami, y'all, I actually had to take a minute and appreciate what was happening. So I was like, holy shit, V, you're at Art Basel and you got paid to fucking be here. And you're in this gorgeous ass condo looking over the beach that you get to wake up to every single day. You're meeting all these incredible people. You're on your health game. Y'all, let me tell you something. I go to Miami and I always lose weight in Miami because I'm just inspired to be sexy as hell when I'm in Miami. So I was juicing. I was eating all the frutas. I was drinking all the water. My health coach, Marquise, was very happy and proud of me because in Miami, I lose weight. Okay? When I come back, that's another story. But when I'm in Miami, your girl is fly. Your girl is on the flat. Your girl is toit. Okay? Just so many benefits. But I had to slow down for a second and really just bask in the moment and be like, wow, you're doing it. You're doing it. The vision that you had for yourself, it's coming to life. You are doing it. All the hard work is starting to pay off. But that only happens when you actually take the time to think about what's important to you. The way this podcast was born, I was at a spiritual retreat in Costa Rica for my 40th birthday. And I was kind of at this crossroads. I was like, what do I want this next decade to look like? I need some clarity. I need to figure out what I'm going to do next. And while I was there, God told me that I needed to double down on my community. I needed to provide resources and tools for them to get this money. And I needed to be used as a vessel, as a spokesperson to help women get more confident and own who they are and who they are not. And that's how Banking on Cultura was born. Again, only happened because I made the conscious decision to do the work. I made the conscious decision to take the time out to really figure out me and what I want to prioritize and what's important to me and what I really care about, and pay attention to the signs and surrender to being guided, right? Surrender to being guided. So you have to do that for yourself in order for things to turn around for you, in order for you to truly live life on your terms, in order for you to find purpose. Outside of believing in your shit, you want to make sure that you're marketing the hell out of it. You have to let people know that this thing exists. You have to let people know why they should be interested in investing their time and energy in you, right? You have to market. Use all the tools and resources at your disposal. Social media is free. Use all of that shit. Market over and over again. Even if only 2 people are viewing your reel, put it up again. Keep marketing it. Be everywhere. Be outside. Okay? Another thing for those of you who want to start the podcast and want to grow really fast, a great way to do that is bring on guests. It's really difficult to have a solo podcast and reach new audiences unless you already have a thriving community that's going to support you and share it on your behalf. It's helpful to have guests on because the guests are going to help you share out the podcast with their community. It really helps to have guests that have a community so that when they share the interview, their community goes and listens to it because they support them. Like, I've had so many dope ass guests that I'm actually in shock, like how hard their communities go for them. It is so inspiring. Like, it is so inspiring to see a guest that has put in the time to grow their community, and anything that they do, their community shows up for them. Anything. They drop a product, their community is the first one to buy it. They're at an event, their community is the first one to buy tickets to that event. They're on a podcast, their community is the first one to listen to the podcast. Just like support all around. So have guests that have supportive communities so that the work that you are doing and the magic that you are creating can be introduced to new communities, all right? And then the last thing I'll say here, and this is kind of like a high-level strategy, but you guys know I like dropping the gems. By the way, share this episode. If you're finding value in this episode, please share this episode. Please post it on Instagrams, on the socials. Tag me at I am Victoria Jen. Tag Banking on Cultura. Like, help us educate more people. Help us put more people on game. If you find value in this, the only ask that I have is to share it. It costs nothing. It costs nothing. Maybe 5 seconds of your time to share this information. So pay attention here because I'm about to drop some real knowledge, and then we're going to wrap it up because I could talk for hours and hours.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Ooh, this is really good. You should know about this. So I don't know about you, but I've been known to procrastinate, especially when things scare the hell out of me. The fear alone would have me stuck, overwhelmed, confused, and all types of self-doubt. And don't even get me started on the imposter syndrome. Okay. After getting laid off, not once, but 3 times, honey, I realized that the security blanket that I made up in my head was just an excuse because I didn't really want to bet on myself. The corporate benefits that had me in that headlock, girl, they went out the window once my job decided that they no longer needed me.
Turns out that I'll save a whole nickel if I cut your salary completely.
The truth is, the only security blanket guarantee is the one that you create for yourself. In other words, until you start a business, you will always be at the mercy of a company's headcount, and you will never have complete control over your time, which means you'll be renting out your thought leadership and helping build someone else's dream instead of your own. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Don't you think it's time you stop playing small and tap all the way into your power, sis? Check out www.victoriajen.com/training to learn my 3-step process, the exact 3 steps that I took to make the transition from corporate to entrepreneurship. And this is helpful even if you don't know what type of business to start and have only one source of income. And this is absolutely free. It is my gift to you. I want you to win. It's winning season. In fact, what's that? It smells like winning season. Okay, so tap in and I'll see you inside the training. Let's go. The way that I've been now thinking about all of what I bring to clients, and I'm talking about corporate clients specifically, I'm thinking about like all the value that is Victoria Jen. So now when I'm in meetings and I'm negotiating and I'm thinking about partnering with a brand, I am presenting to them what I call a 3-asset framework. A 3-asset framework. And the 3 assets are as follows. You have Victoria Jen, the speaker, the keynote, the workshop facilitator, the leadership and development curator, the consultant, right? You have that asset. Second asset you have, Banking on Cultura. You want to get in front of the Latino community? I have an asset for you. You want to connect with the culture? I have an asset for you. You want to give executives some exposure, or you want to highlight people who are doing amazing work at your organization? I got you. I have the platform to do that. Okay. And then the third asset is the Secure the Big Bag and Wellness Summit, right? You want to have a live activation? I have a space for that. You want to get in front of women entrepreneurs? I got a space for that. You want to increase your supplier base? You want new vendors? I got a space for that. You want to invest in women in business? Oh, I got tons of women in business that you can invest in, right? You want to give your executives exposure, give them more practice being on stages, right? You want to connect with the community? In person, I have a space for that, right? 3 asset framework. I've got the live activation piece. I've got the media piece, right? Because outside of Banking on Cultura, there's also Victoria, the influencer. Like, I have an amazing following, super engaged community. That's why I'm so grateful for all of you guys, right? So yeah, we got that too, right? And then, you're trying to educate your employees. You're trying to offer leadership and development. We have that too. So essentially building the business model where we are a one-stop shop. So I want to challenge you to think about what other assets, attributes you bring to the table, and what asset framework you can build for yourself so that when you're talking to brands and when you are in front of brands, you have more to bring to the table than just one thing. Because brands right now, they're like bored. They're like bored with the traditional way of doing business with partners. They're looking for fresh, new ideas. They want to set the trends, right? They want to be considered a culture advocate. They want to do innovative and cool shit. So provide them the opportunity to do cool shit. Like, if you're already doing cool shit, then figure out how you're going to package that cool shit so that you can go out and then sell it. Because once you sell it to one, you can sell it to another one and another one and another one. It just takes one. It just takes one. You just need one brand to sign on, and then you can recycle that bad boy and then resell it. And it's just continuous revenue for you. Okay? Wow. We dropped a lot of game on today's episode, okay? I hope you guys were able to pick up what I was putting down. And if that was the case, make sure to leave us a review, especially on the Apples. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts right now, please leave us a review. It's super easy. You basically scroll down to the bottom and it'll say leave a review. You give us the 5 stars and then you leave the review. It is so easy. And I think I want to start reading reviews live here on the show so that we can show our gratitude and appreciation live during the show. Also, what you can do in that review section is you can ask questions. If you don't want to publicly leave questions, you can also email us at bankingoncultura@gmail.com. You can send in your questions. You can send in, guests that you think we should have on the show. Any thoughts that you want to share that you may not want to share on a public platform. I read those emails, okay? So my eyeballs will be on it. So definitely connect with us, reach out. And last thing I'll say here, guys, is I want to wish you an amazing holiday season. I want to share all the love with you and extend all this love. I hope you are feeling this energy. I wish you an incredible new year and all the things. We'll probably drop one other episode before the year is up, but I wanted to personally wish you a happy new year. I'm so excited about 2025. I'm really looking forward to what we co-create together, right? Because without you, there really is no me. So I have some amazing ideas, some things up my sleeve that are going to pop in 2025. So make sure to stay glued into us. Remember, we drop every single Tuesday. And make sure to share with friends, family, all the things. So yeah, y'all, Feliz Navidad, Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, all the things, whatever you celebrate. And I hope you have a fabulous, incredible new year. Oh, by the way, I'm dropping this before the new year, and your girl wants to be outside of the country this year. Just like I was last year. Last year, I went to a spiritual retreat in Bali. I think I want another vibe like that. So if you guys know of any spiritual retreats or anything that is kind of has this soulfulness to it, your girl's on the hunt right now, because I definitely want to be outside of the US. And then, of course, I'll share with you guys the entire experience when I get back. But I definitely want to be outside of the US for 2025. So definitely send me a DM, send me all the things if you have any ideas. Okay, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in. I love you so much. And I'll see you on the next episode. Ciao! Mi gente, did you enjoy this episode? Are you loving Banking on Cultura? Make sure to subscribe and follow us. Our goal is to grow this community so that we can all embrace our Latinidad, secure the big bag, and never question our cultura ever again. Please also take a moment to leave us a review. I love reading your reviews. Let me know what you are thinking, what guests we should have on, and if there are any topics you would like me to cover. I appreciate you so much for being here. Te amo mucho, and I'll check you out in the next episode.